What did the Senate majority fight for? One of the largest corporate bailouts with as few strings as possible in American history. Shameful. The greed of that fight is wrong for crumbs, for our families. And the option that we have is to either let them suffer with nothing or to allow this greed and billions of dollars, which will be leveraged into trillions of dollars, to contribute to the largest income inequality gap in our future. There should be shame about what was fought for in this bill and the choices that we have to make.
That was Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez making a very impassioned speech in the House when it comes to the gigantic $2 trillion corporate bailout package. So now I've talked about that package at length and how it has tons and tons of special carve-outs and giveaways for corporations and big business, right? And so, look, she's absolutely right. It is shameful. It's packed to the gills of corporate welfare, but gives the regular, average American citizen about $1,200. And not everybody gets it. By the way, if you didn't file taxes, you don't get it in 2019, 2018, right? You don't, file, you don't get anything. Undocumented immigrants, they don't get anything, even though they do pay taxes and they do stimulate the economy with spending. They don't get anything. People who are, who make over $99,000 a year, they get nothing. And from $75,000 to $99,000 a year, their benefit is reduced. Now, there are some good things like expanded unemployment benefits that are more generous. You can thank Bernie Sanders for that, of course, for standing up and fighting for that to protect that. But most of the rest of the bill is a gigantic handout to big corporations. So understand, right? Now, here's the thing. It passed, right? It passed. It's going to Trump's desk. And it passed because it had to. And that's what she was talking about when, what are we supposed to do? We either let him get away with this gigantic heist and redistribution of wealth to the top corporations, or we let the American people suffer with nothing. And so that's it. I mean, that is the choice that we are given day in, day out. And this, of course, is how they rob you. They put in all these goodies for special interests and into must-pass bills. They leverage the needs of poor people and people who are suddenly finding themselves out of work, without health insurance, without money, without income. And they leverage those people in order to get more giveaways for corporations to help their donors, basically, and to help pad these corporate bottom lines. And so they're doing this. They're using poor people to get a massive redistribution of wealth. And so that's why we need more progressives in government. And look, let's be honest, with or without AOC or Bernie, who also gave his own impassioned speech about this before he voted in favor of it, said basically the same thing. We're giving all this money to corporations, and we're giving all this money to the wealthy, and we're not giving a lot to regular people who are the engine of this economy. But with or without them, this was fated to pass. Of course, right? But imagine what kind of legislation would we be able to pass if we had a progressive Congress, if we had 100 AOCs, if we had, 30 Bernies, right? Or, if we had a progressive caucus, a progressive coalition in Congress actually fighting on behalf of regular people. And look, here's the thing, right? Even people that aren't necessarily considered to be super progressive, although I think that she is policy-wise, Barbara Lee had one of the best bailout packages I've ever seen. And, you also had Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib coming out with their proposals in order to help regular people. I mean, look, one of the things that Barbara Lee was talking about was instituting a UBI. Look, fans of Andrew Yang and his freedom dividend, right? You should be cheering on Barbara Lee and be like, yes, that's exactly what we want to see. It would have been $2,000 a month until this crisis is over. I mean, that's hugely generous. Instead, what we got is a $1,200 a month for one payment. So not even a month, $1,200, one singular payment to some people, most people, I guess. But look, this crisis is expected to stay around for quite some time. Might end up even being seasonal. And so we need something a little bit stronger, something a little bit better and more progressive. And here's the thing. The House as it is, even controlled by Democrats, wouldn't even take it up. You know who controls the House? Nancy Pelosi, right? Pelosi immediately, out of hand, dismissed any sort of UBI and instead went with the Republican plan, which was a one-time cash payment. Again, this isn't the first time they've done this. Remember, back during the Bush presidency, one of the things that he wanted to do is get everyone a stimulus package, right? And so single people got $300, couples got $600. And of course, it was means tested, a lot like this is also means tested. And so what the House ended up doing is taking up a slightly less better, well, I should say a slightly better version of the Senate bill, right? So understand here, right? You might think, well, okay, well, government sucks, right? Government seems to be the problem here. I mean, all they're doing is just giving corporations everything that they want. But here's the thing. It's not the government that's the lack of problem. Government's working just fine, right? It's the lack of uncorrupted politicians. That is the major problem. These politicians take money from donors, right? They serve the donors and they give them all sorts of bailouts and goodies, and what little is left over goes to us. Now, they could help us a lot more because really, I mean, you can just get money out of thin air. Literally, that's how it works. The Federal Reserve can print up all sorts of money, and then the government borrows it from the Federal Reserve. There's really no limit other than, of course, what the resources are, the real resources are of the economy, workers and raw materials, etc. We could be bailing out every single American, giving them health care, forgiving student loan debt. That was another part of Barbara Lee in the progressive bailout package, was forgiving student loan debt. And even Pelosi's House bill involved at least forgiving $10,000 of student loan debt. This does not have in that, right? This bill does not have any of that in there. Instead, we've got billions upon billions of corporate giveaways to the airline industry, to Boeing. Boeing got $17 billion. Boeing said, we don't want to have a bailout if you're going to have equity stake in our company. So we're just going to take our, we're just going to leave, if you're not going to give us what we want. And so they got what they wanted. Why? It's because they have much better lobbyists than we do. Right, because we don't have any lobbyists. We don't. So look, that's not the way a democracy is supposed to be. That's not the way we should be doing things. But unfortunately, we don't live in a democracy. We live in an oligarchy. So I think the best thing that we can do right now is do what AOC and Bernie were doing. Raise a fuss. I mean, other than that, the real work should be building a bottom-up movement to get progressives into Congress so that we can actually start to turn the tide. I thought that we were starting to do so. Unfortunately, we're not able to do so. We vastly overestimated our chances in trying to have a progressive Congress and actually get progressives into office. It's going to be a long road, and it's going to be a hard fight because the people in power never want to give up their power. Never. And only in these, knockdown, drag out fights or fights, for example, AOC's reelection beating Joe Crowley by basically bypassing all the money by going directly to the people. Only then are we going to be able to get progressive representatives. Because right now we've got the establishment, got the media, and we've got the money all against us. And all we've got is the people. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.